Good morning. One more time, lockdown is extended. It is extended up to May 17th. So be safe, stay at home, and then come to work and all. I hope that you all completed your classwork of federalism. Only few students send the pics related to that lesson and all. So better you complete your work within the time, otherwise the work will be accumulated, you only will face the problem. So that's why better complete your writing works as well as reading works within the time. So you have plenty of time within your hands, so please don't waste your time. And one more thing, I planned to conduct a sleep test on federalism the last week itself, but you had examinations, weekend exams of maths, science, and Telugu. That's why I postponed sleep test. You prepare sleep test. Sleep test will be conducted on 5th May. That means in tomorrow. So after classes, I mean 8 to 12 you have, I mean 10 to 12 you have classes. After classes, you prepare and write the sleep test post lunch. Sleep test must be write on sleep test book. If you have no sleep test book, then you take some papers, get the signature from your parent before starting the sleep test, and then after completion of sleep test again you get the signature. Then coming to the lesson, you first of all you think about your parents once. What are their occupations? I mean your father, mother, and relatives, friends. So whoever you know, neighbors and all, you think once. So what we conclude, different people have different professions or occupations, and number of economic activities are going on within the country, as well as different people engage in different economic activities. So you are right, today we are going to learn about the sectors of economy. So this lesson is mostly based on pictures as well as tabular information and all. That's why we have to go through the textbook. By that you can understand in a better way. So let's see the picture. The first picture, what did you understand? Yeah. So the process of sowing. The second picture explains about mining activity. The next one is a manufacturing, and third picture is somehow service activity, fitting and all. Isn't it? Come to the sectors of Indian economy. Again, the lesson start with the different pictures are given. So we have to go through the pictures which explains about the different economic activities. So in this first picture, what can we understand? Who is he? So he is a postman. He is simply delivering his letters. And come to the next picture. The next picture, so laborer who carry some bags, luggages and all, Hamali. And then what is this? So it is brick manufacturing activity. And then come to the next picture. So it is plucking of cotton from the cotton field. And then next activity, it explains about somehow sales in the shop. So these are all different economic activities we all know. So different n number of economic activities are going in and around us, so within the economy. So how can we classify these economic activities, and what is the need of classification? In even previous lesson also we learned about the classification, uses of classification and all. So in last lesson you learned about why the countries are categorized into developing, I mean low income group, middle income group and high income group by taking per capita income as its parameter. So like that, What is the use of that classification? We can understand economic status of different countries in the world. So in this way, if we categorize the things by taking a proper criterion, by that we can analyze in a better way. So here economic activities are also classified into three sectors. Those are primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector or service sector. So what is a primary sector and why we call it as a primary sector? So primary sector is nothing but the goods which are produced with the help of nature comes under primary sector. So which activities comes under primary sector? Agriculture and all its allied activities comes under primary sector. Why agriculture and its allied activities comes under primary sector? Agriculture is completely depend on rainfall, weather and other natural factors. That's why agriculture comes under primary sector. And what are other allied activities within the primary sector? Allied activities are nothing but animal rearing, fishing, poultry, and mining, forestry. These are all comes under primary sector. So here primary sector, nature is playing its dominant role. So suppose if you take a cotton crop, what is the process? Simply they sow the seeds and with the help of rainfall or irrigation facility, it grows, as well as a farmer gives some sort of inputs. Ultimately, we will take back its fruits and all. Cotton, we take the cotton from cotton field. Here, nature is playing dominant role. That's why it comes under this. Animal rearing. Why animal rearing comes under primary sector? So here, animal rearing comes under primary sector because it is related to biological activity. We are getting milk or other milk related products from animals. It is all about biological activity. So as well as fodder for the animals we are getting from nature. That is why these are all comes under primary sector. As well as aqua, fish, poultry. These are all comes under primary activities. Why mining also comes under primary sector? Here, can we create the minerals? No, these minerals are formed naturally. So that's why simply we are taking the minerals which are naturally formed. That's why minerals comes under, mining activity comes under primary sector. Forestry also the same. Forest that grow naturally. That's why forestry also comes under primary sector. Did you understand what is primary sector? So primary sector activities are nothing but completely depend on nature. That means goods which we are producing with the help of nature, then which comes under primary sector. Agriculture and all its related activities comes under primary sector. And if once these goods are produced with the help of nature and then it goes to industries, especially agro-based industries. What are agro-based industries? The industries which gets its raw material from agriculture are called as agro-based industries. So these agro-based industries gets its raw material from primary sector. So you take some examples. Suppose sugar is made out of sugarcane. Sugarcane is produced in agriculture. So here goods are producing through manufacturing activities with the help of machines and tools. We are converting one form of good into another form, another useful form. Is comes under secondary sector. So all industrial or manufacturing activities comes under secondary sector. Here we are converting sugar cane into sugar or a gur, means a jaggery. At the same time, cotton, we convert cotton into cloth through different processes. That means the ginning, as well as a spin, making of yarn, weaving, dyeing, different processes. So these are all comes under manufacturing activities. That means the producing goods in by using machinery and tools comes under secondary sector. All kinds of manufacturing or industrial activities comes under secondary sector. And then this is also called industrial sector, because manufacturing that takes place in industries, that is why manufacturing activities are also called industrial sector. How the same way primary sector is also called some agriculture sector. Come to the third one. So along with primary and secondary sector, what is the striking difference between primary sector and secondary sector? In primary sector, we are producing the goods with the help of nature. Here nature is playing predominant role in the production of goods. That means we are exploiting the nature for producing some goods. That's why agriculture and all its related or allied activities comes under primary sector. Whereas secondary sector, we are converting one form of good into another form of good with the help of machines, tools, technology and all. So that's why these are all comes under secondary sector, which is also called industrial sector. Come to third sector, along with primary and secondary sector. One more economic category of activities that falls under tertiary sector. It is completely different from the remaining two, that means primary and secondary sectors. In tertiary sector, it won't produce any tangible goods. That means it won't produce any goods. In primary sector, it is producing the goods with the help of nature. At the same time, in secondary sector also, they are converting one form of good to another form of good with the help of machines, tools, technology, and by using manpower and all. But whereas in tertiary sector, it won't produce any tangible goods, just its support to primary sector as well as a secondary sector. So which comes under a tertiary sector. So tertiary sector is nothing but the service which rendered to primary and secondary sector without producing any tangible goods comes under tertiary sector. Suppose if you take a transportation, primary sector requires a transportation to provide inputs to the agriculture, so they need some transportation. At the same time, industries also needs transportation for imports as well as whatever the goods which were produced in industries, they has to send from industry to markets. So the transport comes under tertiary sector. That means the transport is not producing anything. Transport is rendering its a service to primary or secondary sector. Like that, banking. Banking is also service. They are not producing any goods. Like insurance, postal services, like teaching. So these are all comes under tertiary sector activities. So these tertiary sector activities actually helps for primary as well as secondary sectors, like telecommunication, entertainment. These are all comes under tertiary sector. I hope you all understand the difference between primary sector activities, secondary sector activities and tertiary sector activities. So just go back once. So primary sector, here we are producing goods with the help of nature. Here nature is playing important role. So agriculture and all its allied activities comes under primary sector. Whereas in secondary sector, we are transforming one form of good to another useful form of good with the help of machines and tools. That is why all kinds of industries as well as manufacturing comes under industrial sector, which is also known as secondary sector. So first two sectors the difference is nature is playing predominant role in primary, and the second machines as well as tools. With the help of machines and tools we are converting one form of good to another form of good. Whereas tertiary sector it won't produce any goods, so it is rendering its services to either primary sector or secondary sector. So that what examples also we discussed: transport, insurance, banking, postal, defense, administration. These are all comes under tertiary sector. So how these three sectors are interrelated to each other and all. So software, internet, these are all comes under primary sector, service sector only. So all three sectors are completely interdependent. So one sector is depend on other sectors. So see the example tabular information once, by that you can understand in a better way. Imagine what would happen if farmers refuse to sell sugar cane to a particular sugar mill. The mill will have to shut down. Simple thing, isn't it? Then what does this show? What can we understand from this? This is an example of secondary or industrial sector being depend on primary sector. Isn't it? Secondary sector is mostly depend on primary sector for its raw materials, especially agro-based industries. Agro-based industries get its raw material from primary sector only. So primary sector won't support its raw materials to the secondary sector. Secondary sector won't be sustained. So come to the next case. Imagine what would happen to cotton cultivation if companies decided not to buy from the Indian market and import all cotton they need from other countries. Indian cotton cultivation will become less profitable and the farmers may even go bankrupt. If they cannot quickly switch to other crops, cotton price will fall. So what does this show? So what can we understand from this? So here primary sector is depend on secondary sector. So without secondary sector again primary sector can't survive. So agricultural, how far agriculture is important to provide raw material to the industries. At the same time industries are also important to support the agriculture. Without industry who will buy all the raw materials of agriculture sector? So the second case, what can we understand from the second case? Primary sector is depend on secondary sector. Come to the third case once. Come to the third case. Farmers buy many goods such as tractors, pump sets, electricity, pesticides and fertilizers. Imagine what would happen if the price of fertilizers or pump sets go up. Cost of cultivation of the farmers will rise and their profits will be reduced. So what can we understand from this? See here primary sector is depend on secondary sector as well as tertiary sector. Here primary sector is dependent on secondary sector as well as tertiary sector. Farmers profits are also mostly decided on secondary as well as tertiary sectors. Come to the next case. People working in industrial and service sectors need food. Imagine what would happen if there is a strike by transporters and lorries refuse to take vegetables, milk, etc. from rural areas. Food will become scarce in urban areas, whereas farmers will be unable to sell their products. So what can we understand from this? Simply here service secondary as well as tertiary sector is depend on primary and secondary sectors depends on tertiary sector. So altogether, in what way we can conclude by taking these examples and all three sectors are interdependent. Without primary sector, industrial sector won't get raw materials as well as food to the people who are working in industrial sector as well as a tertiary sector. At the same time, without industries, again, it is agriculture is not possible because of the fluff. A farmer need fluff. Those are producing in agriculture sector. They need tractor, fertilizer, pesticides. These are all manufacturing in secondary sector only. At the same time, farmer needs market to sell their produce, as well as they need transport. They need some banking credit facilities from the banks, insurance, crop insurance. These are all available in tertiary sector. So that's why primary sector is dependent on secondary sector as well as tertiary sector. In the same way, secondary sector is also dependent on remaining two sectors. Even service sector also, if primary and secondary sector are not there, and what is the use of only service sector? So that is why all three sectors are interdependent. So development of each three sectors are important for the all-round development of economy. So come to, some sort of work is given in the textbook. So here this lesson is almost based on pictures and all. So that's why I choose to explain in this way, not in a lecture method and all. See once. Complete the above table to show how sections are dependent on each other. So already you can fill the table easily. So the first one they only gave, the second one simply press. This one here you can understand that primary sector is dependent on secondary sector. Next one, primary sector is secondary sector. Primary sector depend on both secondary as well as tertiary sector. The last one, we can understand that both primary and secondary sectors again dependent on service sector. So in this way, all three sectors are interdependent. Without other sectors, the particular sector alone can't survive. And come to the next question. Explain the difference between primary, secondary, tertiary sectors using examples other than those mentioned in the textbook. You can take many examples now. Simple, if you understand the definitions, you can create or come with many examples. So what is the exact definition for a primary sector? Goods which are producing with the help of nature comes under primary sector. Agriculture and all its related activities. In secondary sector, it is simply transforming one form of good to another form of good with the help of machines, tools. In service sector, tertiary sector is also known as service sector. Here, it renders its service to both primary sector as well as service sector. For this question, simply you can write the definition for these three sectors and write the examples beyond the textbook. You can write easily. So if you understand the exact difference between primary sector, secondary sector as well as the tertiary sector, you please categorize these into which comes under whatever the sector. You have to test yourself. So tailor comes under which sector? So tailor, what is the tailoring activity? Simply they are stitching the cloth, isn't it? It comes under secondary sector, especially if it is in large scale, generally considered as a secondary sector activity. If it is only personal service of a tailor, it comes under service sector. But tailoring activities, it is generally making the cloth, stitching the cloth and all, so it comes under manufacturing activity. And basket weaving comes under again secondary sector. Flower cultivator comes under which sector? Yes, flower cultivator comes under primary sector. Milk vendor comes under which sector? Milk vendor comes under service sector, because here milk vendor is not producing the milk. The milk vendor is buying the milk from the farmer and then he is selling to the consumer. So that's why it comes under service sector. Fisherman comes under primary sector, because it is comes under primary sector because of nature is playing dominant role and biological activity is required for a fisherman to get fish, and comes under priest. Priest comes under which sector? Obviously service sector. He is not producing any goods now. So courier, it also comes under service sector. Simply they are delivering goods from one place to another place. So courier comes under service sector. Workers in match industry, that means matchbox industry. Workers in matchbox industry comes under manufacturing activity, that means secondary sector. Money lender comes under which sector? Money lender comes under service sector. Here money lender is also not producing any goods, simply is lending money to the needy people and they may charge interest, that is his business. Here he is not producing any goods, he is rendering his service by giving loans to the needy people. And come to gardener. Gardener comes under which sector? Obviously gardener comes under primary sector, because nature is playing its dominant role. That's why gardener comes under primary sector. Come to the potter. So making of pots comes under secondary sector. It is a manufacturing, na? Pottery is nothing but manufacturing. So that's why it comes under secondary sector. Beekeeper comes under which sector? Beekeeper comes under primary sector, because here nature is playing dominant role. Astronaut comes under which sector? Astronaut comes under service sector. Call center employee comes under again service sector. So in this way you can take any of the profession you know and you categorize these professions comes under which sector. So by that you can get better clarity. Simple thing, if any the goods which is producing with the help of nature, we have to categorize under primary sector. If have any manufacturing activity, it comes under secondary sector. If any service without producing the goods or transforming the goods from one farm to another farm, it is simply rendering its services, it comes under service sector. So one more exercise is given to you, just you see once. Students in a school are often classified into primary, secondary, junior and senior. So what is the criterion that is used? Do you think this is a useful classification? Discuss. Yeah, obviously in our school also. So primary sector, generally in our school we call it as a PYP. So from nursery to 5th class we considered it as a primary or PYP. And then from 6th to 10th class we considered it as a secondary. And +1 and +2 we considered it as a senior secondary. So here question is what criteria? Based on their academic classes, we are categorizing these classes sections into primary, secondary as well as senior secondary. What is the use for this classification? We can understand the particular age group. Suppose from nursery to 5th, their age group is different. From 6th to 10th, again their age group as well as level of understanding, mind maturity levels are different. And come to senior secondary students, these people are somehow grown up people and their abilities are different when compared to PYP or secondary. So in this way classification is always useful to analyze the things And we can suppose if you want to give a task to a PYP kid to give the plus one, can we give the same task? Obviously, no, because the level of understanding to the children is somehow different from primary, secondary, as well as a senior secondary. Based on it, their academic syllabus is also designed as per their age levels and all. That's why this classification is useful. Not only this one, any classification is useful to understand and to analyze in a better way. I hope you all understood whatever we discussed topic. Simply today we discussed about different economic activities. These economic activities are categorized under primary, secondary, as well as a tertiary sector. We discussed about definitions as well as even examples. And come to the next concept. Simply it explains about how far these three sectors we have to assess based on its production and all. So primary sector, it produce large number of goods. Secondary sector, numerous goods are produced in manufacturing or secondary sector. At the same time, service sector also rendered n number of services. So if we want to know which sector is contributing more to the countries, or what about the value of the total value of goods which are producing in agriculture sector, what about the goods which are producing, the value of goods producing in secondary sector, and what is the value of services which are rendering from tertiary sector or service sector. Why we have to assess all these things? We must know how much is contributing from primary sector as well as secondary sector and tertiary sector. That's why, so comparison of these three sectors are always useful, and we have to compare these things with the help of three different sectors. And then how do we count the various goods? Already we know that a number of goods are producing. Can we count? Just imagine once. Can you count how many manufacturing activities are taking place? How many types of crops which are producing in primary sector? How many types of services which are rendering from tertiary sector, like hospitals, educational institutions, as well as engineering, chartered accountants. So a number of services are providing by tertiary sector. So how can we count all these things and all? So if you want to assess the total value of goods which are produced from particular sector, there generally we take only the final goods and services which are produced in an economy, then it will come to the total value. So here one example is given, you go through once. Here a farmer who sells wheat to a flour mill for rupees 8 per kg. Here farmer who produced wheat, he sell 1 kg of wheat is rupees 8, and then he sold to flour mill. So what they do? Simply they buy wheat from the farmer and they grind the wheat and converts into flour, and then the flour mill sell this flour to a biscuit company for rupees 10 per kg. The biscuit company use the flour and things such as sugar, oil and other milk, etc. And they produce biscuits and they sell in the market. Here in this case, if you take the value of biscuits, which includes the value of wheat, which include the value of flour, if you count value of wheat value of flour as well as value of biscuits, and then it may be count will be double, triple, etc. That's why when counting the total value of goods or services which are producing in an economy, we are considering only the final value of goods and services. So intermediate goods are excluded. That means we won't consider the intermediate goods. What are intermediate goods? Suppose wheat is considered as a raw material. Biscuit is a final product, whereas a flour is a intermediate good. So here flour as well as wheat we won't consider. If we take the counting of biscuits, naturally which includes the value of wheat as well as value of flour. If you want count separately, so you have to take 8 rupees worth of wheat per kg, and again miller 10 rupees. How much value is adding here? For each case 2 rupees. At second level you have to take only the 2 rupees, and third level also the additional value you have to add. So that is one method. So that means primary level we are taking its total cost. The second, again whatever it is added we have to take, and third again whatever we have to add. If you take, then the real value will come. Otherwise, if you take the total value of goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is nothing but GDP. So gross domestic product. So which is a familiar word if you go through the newspapers and all. So we always listen about the GDP growth rate. So IMF is expected the GDP growth rate may increase or decrease for the next coming financial year and all, isn't it? So what is a GDP? GDP is nothing but gross domestic product. GDP is nothing but gross domestic product. So in gross domestic product, which includes gross domestic product, all the final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is known as gross domestic product. That generally in shortcut we call it as a GDP. So the value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 financial year is known as GDP. So what is a financial year? So calendar year, anyhow we know. Calendar year means from January 1st to December 31st of that particular year is considered as a calendar year. Financial year means it start with April 1st and end with 31st March of next year. Suppose the present financial year is, it start with 1st April 2020 and this will end with 31st March 2021. That means 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. This is one financial year. So within that financial year, the total value of final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is known as gross domestic product, GDP. See once again, the total value of goods, total value of all the final goods and services produced within a country during a period of 1 financial year is known as GDP. So calculating GDP is a very big challenge as well as very big task. Imagine once how many activities, economic activities are taking place, how many people who engage in different economic activities. Is it easy task to calculate the total value of goods and services which are producing during a period of 1 year? Obviously no. It is not easy to calculate GDP of a nation. So to calculate the GDP, its central government, a particular ministry is there, that is Ministry of Statistics and Program. What is the ministry which calculates GDP in our country? Ministry of Statistics and Program. The present minister of it is an independent ministry. The present minister for Ministry of Statistics and Program is Indrajit Sen. The Union Minister of Statistics and Program is Indrajit Singh. So this ministry take responsibility to collect all the information related to goods and services which are producing during a period of 1 year. I hope you understood the meaning of GDP. So the total value of goods and services produced during a period of 1 year is known as GDP. So the total value of all the final goods and services produced in a country during a period of 1 year is known as GDP. So the historical change from these three sectors and all we will discuss in the next class. So today already I sent your PDF file of the lesson, the sectors of the Indian economy, as well as classwork. The classwork also I will send you. So you start your classworks and learn the questions which are related to the topics whatever you learned in today's class. So you come to the lesson and exercise. Whatever the end of the lesson, we have some sort of exercise. You have to learn the categorization of people who belongs to different sectors and all. You have to go through once. At the same time, at the end of the lesson, some exercise is given. You check once here. So whatever related to the topic which you learnt, complete the task. I mean reading process also you have to complete on a particular day. Today you check once at the end of exercise, by that you get better understanding. So it start with exercise. So if you know, you complete it. Otherwise, anyhow I am sending worksheets, by that you may get better idea and all. See the questions and all. So these are MCQs. After completion of MCQ, some sort of questions are given. So I am sending complete notes for this lesson. Simply you better copy these question answers in your C work, and at the same time you read the question answers whatever is given. Suppose if you take sixth question already, which is today it is completed. Do you think the classification of economic activities into primary, secondary and tertiary is useful? Explain how. So already that concept is completed. And for each of the sectors that we came across in this chapter, why should one focus on employment and GDP? So this is not completed. In tomorrow's class, next class we will discuss about this concept. So whatever the concept which I thought, you better revise and learn. And tomorrow, don't forget that tomorrow you have slip test on the lesson federalism. Okay, thank you. Bye.